Hi, I am Bawi, an artificial intelligence made to write silly book just for you. Today the book that I have written is inspired by the first light novel of Overlord. Enjoy. I'll even recommend a good place. Momona's words were gentle, but backed with an adamant will. One has sent his army to exterminate you. Antama. Kosaida-sama, in-sama has a look of excited admiration, like a puppet whose strings had been cut, facing the sky. The things we successfully defended are also the things we have to prepare ourselves mentally. All information on the other hand, the undead army didn't require any provisions or rest. He could complete it even if Albedo did not wish to be seen, but instead white head pieces. Why do you think of me as a fool? The thick tree trunks stood tall, while their filthy, matted black hair looked like it was with the spewed lance. Lizardmen corpses are of high quality when used to serve as shields. When Karn village was attacked by knights, and so on. He felt an uneasy premonition which unfortunately became a reality. An idea suddenly came to mind. As he watched Anfiria vanish into the distance, a fireball was shot from its hand appeared vaguely in Rorora's murky eyes. They believed these were the drawings of the ancestors who had descended onto Crush. Could it be that I'm the only one, the other 18 knights surrounding the Death Knight? Right now, her master, in's old gown, but now that suit of armor looked like a follower. There was no need to worry about such things was foolish, but at the very least, you must meet 2 criteria. A quick glance revealed a golden mug, a scepter encrusted with all manner of supplies and resources. I will be there soon. Part 2 Humans looked over to Ins, through the narrow room. It would please me if you want, then a fight you shall have. After issuing his orders, Ins brought Anfiria to a place some distance away. And now the male lizardmen from a different tribe started the war. Our tribe was able to guarantee causing harm to the opponent. As though waiting for that moment, Zuryuzu understood what the swords of darkness, Peter Mock. Before Gazef reached their objective, other troops could have been stained, and understood after seeing Zuryuzu's face through the narrow room. He looked down to his hands, struggling to get himself away from the skeletons. Although they seemed to have realized its value, but if that were not to be underestimated. However, since you already brought a Hydra here, bringing along the crisp sound made by friction. This is a strength replenishing fruit. Inspired by an anti-hero from American comics, it was hard to believe. Instead, there was no reply from the blank-faced Shaltir. The odds of victory are 7-3. I trust one need not say who is who. Ins had almost finished his report by the time they had ever fought. So that was why this woman was asking Ins to pay up. After that, he handed the task of running Nazarick not be given to Kosaida-sama. The slab slowly moved aside, and turned to face Anfiria. Actual why, Demi-Urge liked to create such items. More importantly, he was dead. After a period of silence, In stared at the seat Hero had occupied until just now, the lizardman tribe of this lake. The 4 who had not originally been there. Reasons like illness, judgment, setting an example, betrayal is common. His marvelous execution of his duties is truly praiseworthy. Of course, this matter will necessarily require various information, rations, and manpower. Zuryuzu, the neck extended and coquettishly twisted around him. However, Demi-Urge, the room became silent. In addition, landing that single spell could change the course of his studies. He had innovated a second unique martial art, Instant Flash. She seemed to be damaged, could you not make baseless speculations? Picking up on their thoughts, Nanya began cutting off the goblin's ears with a dagger. I had to use tails as the criteria. I would like the privilege of the beautiful maiden in his mind. It was the sound of their breathing could be heard from inside. After sensing that the answer did not contain any hints of affection which frightened him, Anfiria breathed a sigh of relief. It is the wise king of the forests charge head-on. In the future, which sent a shudder through Igverge's body. But despite the vast space before him, which came from the other guardians to emit an air of tension. Satoru, but the vampire brides their mistress included did not come out quickly, they would wear magical masks to conjure a fake face. In fact, up until this point. Why had he been killed by his own judgment? Finally, I have waited for this moment to move out. Say, would you kindly capture them for me and see when they got back? Therefore, I felt that this was foolishness, but this color change occurred when a third party was doing something here, and it confused her. Looking for pretty stones outside the village, Anfiria made up his mind and slumped into his chair. This was because only he know, that what a shrinking violet you are. In a high-pitched voice, the lizardman charged at the skeleton archers could shoot. If there was even a bit cute, that was why it was ranked among the top 10 of YGGDRASIL's thousands of guilds. A hit from this powerful attack spell could disregard virtually any form of magical defense, but the opposition would think that wealth had been her objective. I am truly amazed, Insama. The customer looked at the two of them, reacted the same way. That's right, it's our turn. He was healed by Crush's healing spell once again and the wound mended slowly. And then was one more figure. As he watched Ins wipe the crystal clean with a piece of cake, no, it was Ins's aesthetic sense which was at fault. To Nigun, it looked like the team's leader. That would be Anfiria Bearer-san. I just wanted you, Ani-san. The woman revealed her canines with a predatory grin. Are you done? Fortunately, at this very place. No, perhaps that was the case here. Armor made from bones were immune to mind-affecting effects. Choose. Ins could not take their eyes off their target. If his parents were still alive, he would need to do in the next attack. If a village does not use gold pieces, Ins fought back the urge to weep, trying his best to ignore it. The ones which walked behind, which should make things simple. However, the road ahead was dangerous, was unknown still. He raised his right hand. Therefore, if we had them eat the severed arm and then healed the wound without leaving a mark, but he seemed to have a hard time believing this. For a brief moment. For the most part, ears were used in their case. I am inferior in terms of position, therefore he blurted out what he was talking to the same place. In return, Momonga raised his guard. I see a distraction while you flee, what about it? The lizardmen's advantage is that eventually they can increase their population, and this includes your maker, Tabula Smaragdina-san. He's older than I thought. These drunkards wouldn't have that sort of loyalty. Isn't that going a bit too high before the master of the Death Knight? It's impossible that nobody's heard of you before. He sighed in relief after hearing what the guardian said. Shaziryu. I think the most troublesome ones are the whites. For me it's the sling bullet he threw. Why had he subjected Albedo to this pain? Guild leader, will lose the right to the left and right wings. Or rather, this was not a bluff or a boast. The situation is critical, so obviously it would not be able to return to the city walls. It should have tried a different approach. With that in mind, their goal was, so there was no way for him to spend waffling around. Thank you very much, Momonga-sama. The water in the air. What else is there to do? In addition, these policies would also improve the place of the warrior captain. Don't be silly. What else is there? Several people are headed this way. Wait a moment. Ins could see, it couldn't be helped. He couldn't use fireball in this situation, is nothing short of mythical. As you command, this money will be used for negotiations. Shaziryu sighed. Thus, I wish to take on the properties of silver. The fly to enter from the air, landing some distance away. In that case, the duty of breaking the stalemate rests on the ones who possessed holy elemental attacks which were effective against the undead which were sent out by the peaceful lakeside. Gazef let go of the divine class weapon in his hand. Rororo was being manipulated by magic. The flying tackle of the wise king of the forest had used a passive charm skill. Unbelievable, that's Momon-san for you. The unknown circumstances that had brought him here might have brought his comrades who were likewise created by supreme beings. It gave both the chance to do so. Ins Oulgown's script to the letter. He might have seemed merely depressed on the surface of the great underground tomb of Nazarick. The reason why he could not hit with it, then dumped its contents onto his hand. As the Death Knight's blade would become its slaves for all eternity. Albedo suddenly let go. Zuryuzu momentarily felt that this was his leadership talent at work. Momonga felt like they were doing now was the time to ponder these things. The speaker was a man, and although he couldn't clearly see it, just get in there. Even if all of Nazarick turns against you, Insama. Is that so? Was he really like that? The blood lump writhed like a maggot, then distorted itself as it flowed into the orb of blood above Shaltir's head. Although he had made a fatal mistake. Ignorance was synonymous with disaster, in this world. If they ran, they would be recalled to life without any ill effects. Ins hoped that he would look like that on Solution's face.